So congratulations are in order, first of all, on your new album.
Thank you.
You know, let's talk about that first. What inspired the creation of the invitation, A Conversation with God?
Just my daily walk. It's been challenging in the industry, and being in these scenes while we're recording, a lot of things happened, and I was just like, Lord, what's going on? I actually had that conversation to say, my life is what's happening. And usually when I'm going through things, I like to write about it. So I would come out of the scenes and I would go to the studio because that's my safe place to kind of let my feelings out. And I just started to write about the things that I was going through. And what I found was it was therapy for me, because there's so many people that are going through far worse than what I'm going through, but this may be able to just help them through. So I'm inviting everybody to that conversation that I've had, the times that I've questioned God at times, like, why me? So yeah, it's important for me to get out. This is my heart. Like, it's my heart on paper.
And you're going back to your roots. I mean, you started with gospel. So how has it been, creating this gospel album? And I mean, does it feel like a full circle moment for you?
It feels like more of an inspirational album. And yes, a full circle moment. When you've had your grandmother for years say, babe, when you're going to come back to singing the gospel. And I'm like, grandmother, I never really left it, because when we first initially signed our contract, it was important for me to, stay connected to my roots. And that's why when we signed, I told Jermaine, we have to do Living in Vain. Like, we got to do that song, because I grew up listening to the Clark sisters, my sister and I. So it was just a thing. So yeah, I've never wavered from that. I think people get it convoluted, or because they feel like I'm from R&B, but that's not. I'm from the church. Grew up listening to gospel my whole life. As a matter of fact, I really couldn't even listen to R&B music in our household. I mean, only person that we did listen to was Stevie Wonder. So yeah, it's just a thing for me to get back to what's real, and the gospel, the message, the conviction is very much so a part of who I am.
I think many people forget that it's a human experience. I mean, you do both. You live out your Christian life, and then you also have these other aspects, but it's not one or the other. It's always right together.
Yeah. And I think that even when you have a gift, I don't think that people should be able to put it in a box. When I think about the greats like the Aretha Franklins and even Ray Charles and Whitney Houston, they were able to do other genres of music, and people respected that. I call them the trailblazers, because they weren't afraid to go out and do what was in their heart. And I feel obligated in a way to not, shortchange myself. I want to be able to do more, and I'm like, y'all don't put me in a box. I'm not dead. They're going to put you there when you die, and I'm not there. I just feel like people need to understand, whatever walk of life it is, for people to hold you back or tell you shouldn't be able to do something because what they see fit is just, don't set the bar for me.
What do you think fans are going to be most surprised about with this new album?
I think fans will be surprised because it's not the traditional gospel. I've actually infused the R&B with gospel. And because of that, you can actually listen to the album all through the week. It's not just a Sunday album. Most people pull out their Sunday albums and they listen to music on Sunday. But this right here, I go back even further to where I'm from. I have I want to call it a hood track, because I'm from College Park. It's called Turn It Up. And so it's got that, it's almost like a drill type music. And I think with that, I think my son and all of his friends would love it. And it's still the message, because sometimes it's a way to get to people who don't really like gospel, who don't really know it like that.
Can you talk a bit about why Stay With Me was chosen as the first single and what makes it so special for you?
What's special about Stay is that was my conversation with God, to ask him, outside of the world, me getting beat up out here and attacked all the time, as long as he stays with me, that's first and foremost, that I'll be okay. So, even feeling like I'm on an island, that video alone, if you notice, I had on a white dress. That's just me making my vow to God to say, hey, I'm here. I'm a vessel. Use me. But at the end of the day, I want you to stay. It's you and I. I don't care about the world and all the stuff that's coming along with it, as long as I have that relationship with him. And I want to normalize that, because so many times we go through things and it's got to be a bad part for you to go to God. It's like, you can talk to him every day. I talk to him about the good and the bad. And I just want to normalize that. That's just that conversation.
Was there like a pivotal moment where you were like, I need to make this album. I need to make this into my music. Was there a moment in your life where you were like, now is the time?
I've been talking about doing music for years. And every time I would tell my friends or my group mates, I would be hit with resistance. And I was like, okay, Lord, when it's time, it's going to be time. And I got a little depressed when I thought that my album was going to come out years ago and I didn't get a chance to really have my voice heard. And so years and years went by, and then we got back together, and then we went on tour. And then after that, I had so many people just kind of talking to me like, what's next? And I'm like, I have so many things that I want to do. So I did the cookbook. That was good for me. And I was like, okay, I still want to sing. And I went to my husband and I go, I want ownership as well. I don't want to just put something out and don't get the ownership, because so many times we as women, we are in a workplace with our counterparts and we get less. We go out and we sing, we write music, or we're in an entertainment and we get pennies. And it was important for me to do that. So when my husband goes, yeah, let's do a partnership with the label. And things were smooth. When I tell you, I was like, do you really think they're gonna do it? He was like, no, they're gonna do it. All you have to do is go in with a sound mind, and say, this is what I want. And we both went in together and they agreed to do it. And when it was that, I was like, Lord, I know that I'm supposed to do this album now, because there were no ripples, there were no hiccups. It was, everything just flowed so smooth. And I'm like, I know that you're in this. And as I'm writing these songs and coming out of these scenes and everything is flowing, and now I know that I have ownership. When I write a song, it belongs to me. Nobody can take my royalties, or they can't take anything away from me now, because I've become a student in the game and I've learned, and now I can help someone else. So when you ask that, yeah, no, it was a perfect time, and God just showed me how it was just effortless, to be honest.
You've got another great single, I'm Yours. What was the process like developing that track?
Just being transparent. I don't know no other way to be, even when I'm doing interviews, everybody's like, is there anything that's off limits for you? It's like, no, I want to be able to tell my story. I've been quiet for a very long time. And when you're quiet, you have a lot to say when you do talk. So with I'm Yours, it was just that. It was just being transparent and just saying I belong to the Most High. It doesn't matter what genre of music I sing. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. The gift I embrace, but I thank the giver. So that's just me thanking him and saying that I'm here. Anything that he wants me to do, I'm just a vessel, and everybody looks at the outer, but there's so much in me that I've asked for him to put in me. And so now he's saying, okay, you've asked for it. Now here you go. Now do my will. And that's what I'm out here doing, regardless of all of the scrutiny that I'm facing right now. It's like, he's strengthening me through all of this. There's so many things that people don't understand, but now that I'm going through it, it's like, okay, girl, dust your shoulders off. If somebody else going through far worse than what you're doing, now you have to be that person to say, if I can get through this, you can get through it too. Yeah. So it's just me being that, it's hard. Sometimes there are trailblazers that I've had to stand on their shoulders, not knowing that, with Aretha Franklin, who knows what she had to go through to be, in the industry of people always nitpicking and saying you should do this, or you're from the church. So I'm sure that she had that too, but watching her, maneuver and get through, now I have to be that for someone else.
What's the difference between writing a love song and an inspirational song? Or is there even a difference?
I don't think that there is. I guess it depends on whom you're talking about, whether it's your man or God. It's still that same conviction, the same love that, that you want to make sure that you attribute to whatever it is, whether it is love lost or love gained, or just the relationship that you're learning to love yourself or love God. So I think it's all interchangeable. I just think it's all one thing, Are
there any favorites that you have on your album?
Right now, my favorite is Afraid.
Afraid.
Yeah, that song it hits home. I actually went in the studio because, I came out of the scene. I ain't gonna lie. I was arguing, well, not even really arguing. I was trying to figure out why I was being attacked in the scenes. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And I had been, as a friend, you trust people to make sure that they got your back. And when you turn and like, oh, you guys are coming against me, nobody has my back, not one single person. The trust kind of goes out the window. So I've just had trust issues and was afraid to even tell anybody about the things that I'm going through. Because it's like, are y'all going to use this against me if I tell you my deepest, darkest, like, oh my gosh, this is how I'm feeling. So I went in the studio and I wrote Afraid. And when I went in, I didn't even, for the bridge, I closed my eyes and I went in and just sang it. I didn't even have it written down. I just sang it from my heart. And when I went in and did it, everybody in the studio was like, oh my God, just that bridge alone, because of the things that my sister and I were going through. Mm-hmm. So I just went in and just sang it. And when I hear it back, it gives me chills, because that was just one of those moments where I was just free to be able to say what was on my heart. And to me, I that's my favorite so far. Yeah.
I always wonder when musicians have their albums come out, like how often are you listening to it? Is it like you wake up, you pop in headphones and you're like, all right, this is all I'm listening to? Or is it always on
Yeah.
repeat?
No, I mean, I have a diverse palette when it comes down
Okay.
to music. And this morning I listened to Bruno Mars. I love Bruno Mars. And I listen to a little bit of myself because, now people are calling for me to do shows and I want to make sure, when you write songs, sometimes I got to go back and make sure what I sang, the lyrics got to be right. And I did a short intimate setting at the winery in Atlanta, and I'd never sang any of my songs. And I invited, some family and friends out, and there were a lot of people that just came out because they heard that I was going to be there. And I sang some of the songs, and the outcome, I was like, wait, I got to remember these lyrics, because the people were so touched. After the performance, I wanted to hug and love on everybody. So they came up afterwards, and there were people I didn't even know that were crying. I'm like, why are you crying? They were like, girl, the song Love Yourself, or I never knew that I could love myself. I'm like, are you serious? So we as women, we have so many layers that we have to unpeel. There's just to take off, because we look at this Instagram and we think that that's the staple. We think that that's how we're supposed to look. So I got a job to do, because back in the day we didn't have this, but I'm not gonna lie, I had low self-esteem. And as I'm looking at these women come to me and say they didn't know to love themselves, and the song is good, I'm thanking God that I was able to do it. But there are more conversations that need to be had for people to understand, oh, you are beautiful in your own skin. And I know it takes time to get there, but when they see people like me who I'm very personable, maybe that'll help them to say, oh, she's telling me, no, I told the girl, you are so beautiful. And she was like, I didn't get it. She said, I need to get this song so I can listen to it every day. And I'm like, I have to get this word out, because there are people who are going through it.
What's the biggest benefit of making a solo album versus making an album with a group?
The benefits to solo is you're able to speak from a place that is personal. Some people may not be going through what I'm going through. And it's one of those things where, back in the day, we had Jermaine writing a lot of the music. And I'm not saying that I didn't agree with a lot of it. Some of this music I love, a lot of it that I wrote with him. But some of the stuff that I didn't write, it's like, I'm not going through that. I can sing about it, but it wasn't relatable, if you will. But this, when it's my album, I can speak from a relatable place. I know what I'm feeling. I know what's going on in my head, and I know how I'm able to maneuver. So that's just the difference with what it is. I can speak from my heart and not having to worry about somebody else saying, well, she's singing too much, or she doing too many runs, or she moving too, it's like I'm in control of my music and how I see fit. But with the group, you have to take under consideration how everybody else feels, and the parts that, are divvied out. It's like, do you want to have 2 songs by yourself? It becomes a thing when it's a group, and people feel like, well, I want to sing this time, why is she singing? So I didn't have all of the back and forth or the banter when it came down to it. I could just focus on my music. Not to say that I didn't like it with the group, because everybody, wants their own turn, which is fine. That's what the ingredients made up with Escape. Everybody had their own little, things that they put in. But for me, just being able to be vulnerable, transparent, and sitting in a space where I can listen to God and listen to my inner and write, it was therapeutic for me. And it's just a real situation that I'm happy I was able finally to do.
And on the flip side, what's the biggest challenge in doing it solo?
The challenge? Well, whenever we do music, it's always, we knew Candy was going to do the bottom note, and my sister and Tiny would probably share the middle, and sometimes myself. So I didn't have that to say, hey, you go do the bottom note and I'll go in here, be on my phone or whatever. So I had to do all of the parts, all of the backgrounds and the lead. So it's not hard, but it's just, you look like, oh, my sisters aren't here to help me do this part.
Do you hope your fans from Escape will follow your new path?
Of course. Yeah. I just feel like when people think about Escape, and I'm so honored to, even to get all the accolades that we've gotten so far, because back in the day we were like, no, nobody remember us. We put so much work in, but, now we are getting the accolades that, we feel like, wow, people really love us. We're on a good path when it comes down to that. The music it speaks, and the fact that this is a soundtrack to people's lives. I've heard people say that about our music. It's like the soundtrack, and they're like, no, we made babies to your music. We were happy with your music. We kicked it to your music. So with that, I embraced all of that time with the group. I'm thankful for the years that was put in. I'm a little upset about how things are going now with the TV show, because in my mind, I felt like we should have been celebrated. You know, you're talking about 30 years, 2 super groups in the business. And now, you know, everybody's taking to social media. We're upset with the things and the way that things have transpired. And I apologize to the fans because this is not what you guys signed up for. It's not what I signed up for. I came in thinking that we were going to go on tour. And with the turn of events, I feel like we've slighted the, I guess we've been bamboozled. And I feel like we bamboozled our fans. And I apologize for that because that's not what it was supposed to be. I'm just keeping it real. And now I sit back, you know, I'm happy about my album, you know, but I'm not happy with what's going on with the group and the things that have gone on in the media. I hate it. I literally hate it.
So what do you hope that people will take away from the album, from hearing your story, from, you know, just your journey? What do you hope the biggest takeaway will be?
That they heal, first of all, because there are a lot of people who are going through that I inspire them in some way. But then they embrace the fact of having that conversation with God, that it's okay to talk to him. And it's nothing wrong with having the time by yourself to reflect on the things that are in your life and just be honest and true, because you can't give it to man. You can't give it to friends. I mean, you know, some people have really good friends, and I'm not negating that. It's just when you are by yourself and you're going through, because it's just you, and people don't understand that people have so much to say when they're judging, or some people just, you know, some people are yes men and they don't know what to give you. I guarantee you, you take that time and you reflect and you go to God and you have that conversation, you pray and you ask him, he'll show you, you know, and I want to normalize that. I think that's what that is. I want the album to normalize the relationship and that conversation that we should be having outside of people.
What excites you, you know, about the future? Like what's next? What can we expect from LaTocha?
I have my May Girl Foundation, of which, you know, I'm, like I said before, I want women to understand that they should be comfortable in their melanin, in their beauty, you know, and I'm creating this facility where women can come in. And if you don't know how to cook, I want to provide classes for that, provide classes for healthy eating, and then having time to sit down with our kids and our family and put the phones down and have conversations. That's how I grew up. We couldn't, like, at the dinner table was everything. You know, we would talk about the things that we were going through. And because of all this mental health, nobody's talking anymore. Everybody's just moving so fast. And when we're eating, we're not spending the time and making sure what we're putting in our bodies is healthy. When my father got diabetes, and I was like, and they kept saying it's genetic. And I'm like, well, I can change that because it's all in the foods that we're eating. Because when you go to the doctor, the first thing they ask you when you get there, if you're sick, is what did you eat? So if we realize that, you know, I want to provide a facility for that. I want to provide a facility for working out. And if people want to get in the music industry, I want to be able to be a liaison for that because I know how hard it was. And put you in the studio. This is what it feels like to actually do a song. You know, this is the engineer that's over here. If you want to engineer, I want to provide that space for those people. And then too, my clothing line that I have out is Made Girl, and it's the athleisure wear that you can feel comfortable in. It's 100% Pima. And if you don't know, that's like the highest quality of cotton. And with that, I'm telling women that you're worth that. You are 100%. You're everything. So with the clothing line, my cookbook that's out, that's healthy eating, is plant-based. I had so many people come asking me about the food that they're eating. They were like, how did you lose the weight? I'm like, no, it comes from discipline, but it was baby steps. So when you see me, it's like, did you stop eating? I'm like, no, because I know I would have turned back. I would have derailed at some point. So I stopped eating pork at first, and then turkey. Then it was baby steps. So I want to provide that. But that's so much I want to do. It's so much, and I'm going to do it. You know, it's going to take some time, but when you see me, I want to be able to walk in the purpose of somebody saying, girl, you helped change my life. I did this because you said this, or I did this because I saw your business or your vision. So it's just that.